Hello and welcome to our special coverage of China's first space mission of 2024, the launch of the Tianzhou-7 cargo craft. I'm Li Qiuyuan in Beijing. You're now watching live footage from Wenchang in Hainan province. China will soon send a cargo ship loaded with supplies to its Tianzhou space station. The cargo ship is by far the most powerful in the world, with a carrying capacity exceeding 7 tons. The spacecraft is expected to be launched at 22:27 Beijing time, carried by a Long March 7 Y-8 rocket. Supplies on board will include living supplies and clothing for the taikonauts on board the CSS. 90 kilograms of fresh fruit will also be sent to them, which is 20 kilograms more than the amount delivered by the preceding Tianzhou-6 cargo ship. And for the very latest, let's go live to our reporter Zheng Yibing. He is live for us from the Wenchang Spacecraft Launch Site in Hainan province. Great to see you there, Yibing. So the launch is really approaching the final space. How are things going there?
Well, yes, Qiuyuan. Well, this is the very first launch mission for the manned space programs in the whole world in the year 2024. Now, the 8th Long March 7 carrier rocket is standing in the distance here at the Wenchang Spacecraft Launch Site, and it is ready to send the Tianzhou-7 cargo ship to the Chinese space station in the low Earth orbit to supply the station and the Shenzhou-17 crew in it. The rocket was transported from the assembly building to the launch pad on Monday. Well, the flight combination of the rocket with Tianzhou-7 cargo ship on top of it finished all the ground tests and completed refueling today. And now all the working systems at the launch site are in position. And now the revolving platform of the launch pad has opened, meaning the lift off the rocket is coming soon based on schedule. Well, today the conditions for the launch on the ground and in the air here are good. The local temperature now is 20 degrees Celsius and the wind speed is relatively a little bit higher at 6 meters per second. Compared with previous Tianzhou missions, the condition today is definitely better. And we met a lot of travelers from around the country on our way to the launch site. And they are now gathering at the beach not far away from here. So everybody wants to come here and see the exciting moment at the very first launch mission of the 4 manned space mission of China this year. So let us wait for that moment.
It is exciting. Thank you very much, Yibing, joining live for us in Wenchang Satellite Launch Center. And our reporter Sun Ye is also live for us. She is in the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. Great to have you with us, Sun Ye. So how are the preparations and the last-minute checks coming along there?
Hey there, Qiuyuan. Here at the Beijing Control Center, it's the same thing. Everything is ready for that launch. But of course, here at the Beijing Control Center, this is also the place that we check in on the taikonauts, the Shenzhou-17 crew. They've been anticipating for this delivery, and they are, as we speak, they are watching and waiting for the launch too. And they're probably tuning into the same live feed you and I are watching. Of course, the Shenzhou-17 crew, they will be the ones opening up the packages. They would be the ones receiving those packages that Tianzhou-7 brings to them. And there are going to be many things that delight them. That's including some of the things you talked about. There are going to be fresh fruits, all 90 kilograms of them. That's including apples, pears, and the fruits are put into vacuum bags, labeled and put separately in boxes, so that when they take it out and consume it in the coming months, the fruit will remain fresh and unbruised. But even more than that, there are going to be surprise gifts for the Shenzhou-17 crew. Those gifts, they could be taking a little longer to review to us what they really are. What we've known already, there are going to be gifts to help the Shenzhou-17 crew to herald in the year of long. We know this crew, they are going to spend the Chinese New Year in space, and there are more gifts going to come up with the Tianzhou-7. There are going to be exchange gifts for the Shenzhou-17 when they rotate with the Shenzhou-18 crew in the coming months. So a lot of things to look forward to from that delivery. And as we speak right now, the Shenzhou-17 crew, they are watching and waiting for the launch as attentively as we are. Qiuyuan.
I'm sure they are watching this. Thank you very much. We're just a little over 20 minutes from the launch. So you live for us there at Beijing Space Control Center. Now, experts have expressed confidence in the mission following the Long March 7 carrier rocket's successful completion of several safety tests ahead of the upcoming launch. Take a listen.
The carrier rocket has been improving in its reliability, such as in its control system and engines. This is a continuous process. We have greater confidence to the missions and are expecting the success of this mission.
We completed the test in the assembly of Long March 7 carrier rocket. We checked the subsystems and conducted a general inspection. Now, all devices and equipment in the rocket are in good condition, with indicators showing normal readings.
Well, more than 60 science experimental units will be sent by the Tianzhou-7 cargo spacecraft to China's space station. Among them, those involving human bone mineral density are drawing great attention. CGTN's Zheng Yibing has more.
Manned space exploration has been going on for more than 6 decades. Much knowledge has been achieved, but it's not enough. For the Tianzhou-7 mission, there will be more live experimental units in zero gravity. And one on bone mineral density is a key unit the cargo ship will send to China's space station.
We can see our taikonauts are doing physical exercises in space for several hours a day. This can exercise their muscles and also prevent their bone loss effectively. But in general, these are not enough because their bone loss in space for half a year is like those on Earth for more than 10 years and even 20 years.
Chinese scientists have been working in this field for more than 2 decades. For this mission, they have conducted many simulations.
Our experimental equipment in space will guarantee the physical and chemical conditions for cell culture, like the replacement of nutrient fluid and the gas for bone cells. They also carry fluorescence microscope and ordinary light microscope to monitor the growth of the cells. Some of this information will be recorded and transmitted to the Earth for analysis in real time and in the future.
Such an experiment is a part of a large research project that involves years of participation by many institutions in various sectors, investigating matters such as the reasons for cell differentiation.
We will do further projects in the operation phase of China's space station. Based on these, we will develop relevant medicines and test them. They will not only help taikonauts in space, but also humans on Earth, particularly the elderly. This will be very meaningful.
The Chinese scientists say they are cooperating with colleagues from other countries, hoping to find better ways to address bone loss problems for all. Zheng Yibing, CGTN, Wenchang in Hainan Province.
To get more insights, we're joined by Professor Yang Yuguang, Vice Chair of the Space Transportation Committee at the International Astronautical Federation. Welcome to the program. It's a pleasure to cover the first launch of 2024 with you, Professor. So I really feel like we're seeing more frequent launches in the years leading up to and right after China has completed the construction of its space station. More missiles, more cargo missions, more manned missions. You sometimes lose track of it, but no worries. We're here to tell you what it's all about. Talk to us about this mission. What is its major task?
You can see, as you mentioned, this is the first launch of China's Tiangong Space Station program. So this year we will have 2 cargo spacecraft visiting the China's Tiangong Space Station and also 2 crew transportation systems, which means the Shenzhou spaceships. So this time the Tianzhou cargo spacecraft will provide supply to our not only Shenzhou 17 crew but also Shenzhou 18 crew. You see that because today, not like the initial stage of our space program, originally, usually we launch 2 Tianzhou spacecraft every year because each expedition team need a Tianzhou spacecraft to give them supplies. But today, because there is 2 factors. One thing is that the capability, as you mentioned, and also your colleagues already mentioned, the capability of the Tianzhou is extended from about 6.5 tons to about 7.4 tons. So it can bring more cargoes to our Tiangong Space Station. The second fact is that because of our operation of Tiangong Space Station is more efficient than before, so it do not need so much resupplies. So the schedule for our Tianzhou spacecraft had turned from 2 launches every year to 3 launches every 2 years. So that is a very important change. And that is the reason why we only see 3 launches last year. So this year we will have 2 launches of the Tianzhou, and the other 2 is the Shenzhou spacecraft.
Now, we see that the launch is happening once again during nighttime, similar to what was the same as we were watching Tianzhou-6 last year during May, right? Why was this launch window being chosen? What factors went into that consideration?
Well, the most important thing to choose the launch window is that this mission requires two spacecraft to dock together. And to let them meet together, the most basic requirement is that the chasing vehicle of our Tianzhou spacecraft must enter the same orbital plane of the Tiangong space station. So we don't have other choice but to, that we just need to wait until the launch site rotate along with the Earth when it passing through the orbital plane of the Tiangong space station. So theoretically speaking, every day we only have one chance. So that is the reason. And the other fact is that every day this moment is different. So sometimes you may see we have experienced we join together the live coverage of the launch of Shenzhou or Tianzhou many times, but every time the launch time is different.
What about the conditions, the optimal weather conditions for the launch?
Yes, the weather condition is quite important. You see that Wenchang is near the seashore, so the wind, especially the typhoon, the storms in the Pacific Ocean will be an important factor. But today, that our weather forecast is already very, very accurate, so they do not have much problem. And also the other factor is the rain, the wind, and other things.
We're actually standing by for the T-minus 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The time mark. That's a very important mark, right? Tell us more about it. Why is it important? What does this mean for the launch?
So you can see on this screen is the launch pad, and we can see that all the rotational platforms of the launch complex has already opened, as Yibing has mentioned. But you may also notice there are some small yellow arms. The small yellow rotational arms still close to the launch vehicle. Okay.
That's the call out.
The commander announced that the T-minus 15 minutes and counting. So this is a very important minute. You see that just before the launch, during the countdown, there are all kinds of preparation works. And just now, the commander announced that the third batch of the ground crew has begun to withdraw from the launch pad to ensure their safety. So there are different batches. Each batch of the ground team in charge of a different thing. Some are in charge of the checking of or maintenance of the launch vehicle, and some are maintenance of the spacecraft, and the others maybe in charge of the launch pad itself. So in different moments, such as, for instance, this one, the T-minus 15 minutes and counting, the third batch of our ground team began to withdraw. And this is a very careful. This is a careful one. The commander must count so it is the right number of people, and no one was left. And then they will take a ground vehicle withdrawn from the launch pad. So this is very important. Moreover, you can see that during the countdown, there are all kinds of checking, and all kinds of subsystems will be verified and well monitored. So at this moment, as I mentioned, they still have the yellow-colored, the rotational arm connected to the launch vehicle. So they still have cables and pipes connected to the launch vehicle. You can see just in the middle of the launch vehicle, maybe there are still some white forks released from the launch vehicle, which means that still at this moment, the refueling has not been ended. Just several minutes before the launch, we can see that the white fog will be disappeared, which means that because that we use a very low temperature liquid oxygen and the kerosene. So the liquid oxygen will be vaporized very constantly, and we must get some more pour inside. So the fueling procedure is a continuous procedure. Only several minutes before the launch, we will stop that.
Right, so the rocket now is still connected to the launch pad, but all the people working at the launch pad have been withdrawn. You don't want to leave anybody there. It could be very dangerous. Stay with me, Professor.
Yeah.
Now, the Tianzhou-7 cargo ship is set to deliver supplies to the Shenzhou-17 crew who arrived at the China space station in October. Our Sun Ye has more on the trail of taikonauts currently making history.
The Shenzhou-17 crew have been packing and making space for new deliveries from the Tianzhou-7 cargo ship. The deliveries are for them, the current team of Tang Hongbo, Tang Shengjie, and Jiang Xingling, for the next Shenzhou cruise, and for the space station assembly. The Shenzhou-17 crew have already started decorating for the Spring Festival, as they will start the Year of the Loon this February in space. The taikonauts have also been tending to a small garden of plants in space. They've been harvesting and having the lettuce they grown themselves. In late December, the Tianzhou-7 crew also had their first spacewalk. Tang Hongbo and Tang Shengye were out and completed tasks, including an experimental repair operation on the Tianhe Core Module's solar wings. This makes Tang Shengye, at 34 years old, the youngest Chinese taikonaut with spacewalk experience, and it was the second spacewalk for Tang Hongbo, who is the first person to return to the Tiangong space station. China Manned Space Agency says the crew have more spacewalks lined up over the coming months, as they will continue to conduct a wide range of science and technological assignments that will keep their hands full. They are set to welcome the next Shenzhou crew and come back home somewhere around April. Sun Ye, CGTN.
So let's talk more about this. Essentially, the cargo ship is a space express delivery for the Tiangong station, right? You earlier mentioned, it's able to bring more payloads because it has undergone a major upgrade, making a bigger inner space possible for the spacecraft. What kind of tech breakthrough has it gone through to make that possible?
Well, you know that the basic configuration of our Long March 7 carrier rocket and the Tianzhou spacecraft do not change much every time. But for every launch, we also have some small improvements. As we already mentioned about the capability, the capacity has increased to 7.4 tons. But actually speaking, this time the capacity is not full. You see that this time we only delivered about 5.6 or 5.7 metric tons of supplies, because at the moment the space station do not need so much.
We want to mention that it's T-minus 10 minutes. We're really getting closer to launch.
Yes. So the commander of the ground team has already announced the T-minus 10 minutes and counting. So at this moment, also some other checkings of the certain subsystem has already been ended, and you can see just after several minutes, we will see that as I mentioned, that white fog will be disappeared.
Wow, I think that is the live feed on your right hand, feed
exactly.
from the space station.
The
right?
space station, they are watching the Tianzhou-7 crew is watching.
Is watching this launch
and
just
you know
as
that
we are.
I can still remember just your colleagues in CCTV just said greeting. Miss Lao Chunyan said greeting to the Tianzhou-6 crew, and they feedback to her. This is really interesting, because they are just watching the live coverage of CMG. So this is a very interesting experience.
And we know that the Tianzhou-7 rocket is going to, carry some customized items for these astronauts as well as gift packages from the ground crew, as well as gift for the Spring Festival, because Tianzhou-7 crew is going to spend the Spring Festival out there in the station.
Yes. So the food is customized for every astronaut. You know that's
a major improvement compared to previous missions, right?
Yes, exactly. So you may notice that Mr. Tang Hongbo comes from Sichuan or Hunan province. So maybe he fond of the spicy food. Spicy food. So and also for instance, for the previous commander of the Tianzhou-6 crew, Mr. Jing Haipeng is from Shanxi province. So maybe there are vinegars.
Very true.
Yeah, but there is no exception. Everybody of them likes the fresh food.
That is why we have more fresh foods being sent up there this time.
You may still remember, just after launch of the Tianzhou-7, when it docked to our Tiangong space station, you know that when the Tianzhou-6 crew allowed to enter the Tianzhou-6 cargo spacecraft, they just bring their fresh food and enjoy them at once.
Well, the question here is, how will they be able to store them? Do they have refrigerators up there in the
so
station?
They are well sealed and packed, so it can be stored even for years. So it's very good. And also the taste does not does not change much. So that is improvement on technology.
That is amazing. And looking at the rocket, this is the Long March 7 rocket, right? It has a 100% successful rate since it's maiden flight.
Yeah.
What has made it possible?
So this is the 8th flight of the Shenzhou of the Long March 7 carrier rocket. So it has already launched in the previous missions a test launch, which brings the scaled version of our new generation manned spaceship to the orbit in its maiden flight, and then 6 successful cargo spacecraft missions. So this is the 7th cargo missions and the 8th mission of the Long March 7 spacecraft. You can see that just on the top of the 4 boosters, we can still see the white fog, which means that still at this moment we are pouring the liquid oxygen into the launch vehicle, because they are still vaporizing. So at this moment, the fueling procedure has not ended. This is achieved by some pipes, as I mentioned, which connected to the what you see, the orange or the yellow colored rotational arms. So some of them are still attached to the launch vehicle.
T minus 6 minutes.
6 minutes and counting.
And
so this is also announced by the 01 commander of the Wenchang Spacecraft Launch Site.
Right. This rocket is said to be the most powerful operational rockets in the world. We just mentioned it at the top of the program.
This rocket is not the most powerful,
but
the cargo spacecraft is the most powerful.
Okay.
Because you know that, as we already discussed, the capability is 7.4 tons.
Okay.
And it's almost double the capability of what we call the Cygnus cargo spacecraft.
And the cargo mission is usually paired up with a Long March 7 rocket, right?
Always.
Why is this rocket always being chosen? Is it specifically designed for the cargo mission?
You know, that's the total mass of Tianzhou spacecraft is about 13.5 metric tons. And the capability of the Long March 7 is about 14 tons. So it's right for our Tianzhou spacecraft, although it is also possible to use for other purposes. So it is T minus 5 minutes and counting. So at this moment, as I mentioned, also some of the critical checkings of the subsystems has already been ended, and we will go on. Not at this moment. Also,
looking at the humidity, temperatures, the bottom of the cloud is just 500 meters from ground. That's pretty low, huh? That means,
exactly. That's a very good condition.
Really?
Yeah.
That means the rocket is going to the cloud pretty soon after the liftoff. It's going into the cloud pretty soon.
That does not influence the whole launch procedure. But thunder is one important thing we must consider about. Because the lightning and the thunder will be very dangerous.
Got it. And the humidity, wind speed, temperature is good for the launch?
It's okay for the launch. Because as I mentioned, we have very precise weather forecasting teams in our Wenchang Spacecraft Launch Site. Okay, 4 minutes and counting.
We're really getting closer to the blast off.
You can see this is the launch pad, the launch complex. Choose what we call the new generation triple vertical mode, which means that the vehicle is assembled vertically and transport to the launch pad vertically and launch vertically. It is triple vertical, but it is different from the Long March 2F. You know that there is you may notice there is a very small service tower together with a mobilable launch pad together during the transfer. So all connections to the launch vehicle does not change from the vehicle assembly building to the launch pad. So this is an improvement.
It is usually very quiet at this moment, and that means everything is going great. You don't want to hear too much noises at this time. That's 3 minutes away from blastoff, and it's said that one big difference this year is that we're going to see a manual ignition. That means we're going to see someone pressing the button for the launch, right?
Yeah. And you know
this is as opposed to automatic.
Well, it depends because you know that we can choose both modes. Both are accurate enough for us. Because you know that today we have already extended the mode from the zero launch window to a narrow launch window because there is still energy margin for the launch vehicle because the energy of the launch vehicle is greater or bigger than we needed. So we have a margin. The zero launch window, although we can achieve that, but it is not completely necessary. So the Long March 7 is a 2.5 stage rocket. It has 4 boosters, each with a diameter of 2.25 meters. Okay, 2 minutes.
2 minutes
and
away.
the core stage have 2 stages. Both have a diameter of 3.35 meters, which is similar to most launch vehicles in China. And the payload fairing, you may notice that it is bigger. The diameter is 4.2 meters. Because you know that the Tianzhou spacecraft is bigger than the Shenzhou spacecraft.
Right. And right now, the rocket is still attached to the launch pad, right?
Okay,
When
we
is
just
it
heard
going
the
to-
voice from the ground team that the rotational arms has already turned. As I mentioned, the cables.
Oh, there you have it.
Yeah. Look.
The launch pad is
So we
going
have
to release
monitors.
the rocket.
Yeah. We have monitors to monitor this procedure. So the cables are disconnected.
Okay.
And also no other pipes. You may notice that at this moment, they do not have
The
additional
smoke?
white fog. So the fueling procedure absolutely is already being completed.
So the rocket is
Oh,
completely
okay.
detached from the umbilical cords.
And at this critical moment, the power supply has turned from the ground to the vehicle itself using the storage batteries.
Did we hear a T-minus 50 seconds call out? Really getting closer. And it's said that, well, 40 seconds, the arrow must be controlled within 1 second for the manual ignition. And they have developed over 300 backup measures. We're less than 30 seconds away. If you're just joining us, you're watching special coverage of the Tianzhou-7 mission launch at the Wenchang Satellite Launch Site in Hainan Province.
10、9、8、
It's final countdown. Let's watch.
6、5、4、3、2、1，点火，点火。
Ignition. You see it pressing the button.
Okay, lift off.
Just spectacular.
So we view from the launch pad. Okay, the tower is clear. So the first operation will be the pitch over, which means that the flight direction will change from a vertical one to eastward.
You're also going to be hear voices from the launch team providing different tracking status, saying things are good. You can hear them right now. That's the stat we'd like to hear. There you have it, the heavenly boat shipping away from its spaceport to the destination, the Heavenly Palace.
We can hear the voice of the ground team reporting the status, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
The tracking the trajectory, and also the status of every critical subsystems on board the vehicle.
Yeah, the trajectory is closely monitored by different ground tracking stations.
You can see that there were, actually speaking, there were 6 engines, 4 on the boosters and 2 on the core stage.
And we're going to see several major movements in just a few
So this is a video from
seconds.
the camera mounted on the vehicle itself.
Right, and that's the site boosters, right?
Yeah, we
we're
can see
seeing.
2 of the 4 boosters. Because it is at night, so we can only see the shadows of the booster and but the bright flames.
Right, and the camera is positioned right above the site boosters on the body of the main core.
Yeah.
So we're looking down at the tail of the rocket.
So the 4 boosters will work for more than 2 minutes, and
that's the infrared image.
光学雷达更正常，遥测效正常。
so at this moment it's already flying southeastward, and after 2 minutes the critical point will be the separation of the 4 boosters. So the infrared video is also very clear.
So by now it has completed the pitch over already.
It's already
Okay.
you may notice that the direction is not vertically.
Right.
317
Okay.
更正常。
We're standing by for
So
booster separation, a very critical
we
step.
just heard the voice reporting that some of the ground stations tracking normally. But with different camera, we can see that the flame in a different color. So it's flying just above the Pacific Ocean.
And it's about 10-minute flight, right? The flight
Also,
is
it's about
not
10
that
minutes
long.
also. So it's close to the separation of the 4 boosters.
We're also seeing the animation of the
You may notice that
rocket at the bottom.
Yeah, you may notice that the flame is already in a different shape because, oh great, the booster
that's the engine
shut down
That's
and
the-
separated.
Right.
Great.
That's a successful separation.
So the next
We're
will be
looking at
the
4 dots. Those are the side
Yeah,
boosters.
and this moment the first stage is already separated.
There you have it.
Okay, it's very
First
clear.
stage separation.
Okay, the ignition of the second stage also goes very smoothly. The second stage use 4 rocket engines called YF-115 rocket engines. So
What are we seeing now, Professor?
so this is a camera mounted inside the payload fairing. We can see just it's looking forward, and okay, the separation of the payload fairing
Wow,
is
okay.
jettisoned.
So roughly 4 minutes into the flight, we have seen fairing separation.
And now only the second stage of the launch vehicle remains, and it will work much longer than the first stage because it's already in a vacuum condition.
Right,
and
we're already
thrust-
in space. right?
Exactly. So you know that after the okay, the tracking is normal. We can see that on the left of the screen is the camera mounted forward. We can see the Tianzhou-7 spacecraft. And on the right of the screen, we can see the camera looking backward and monitoring the 2 of the 4 rocket engines.
And you were saying because we're already in space, you don't need the fairing
Payload
protection.
Yes, so they do not have much strong airflow. So we
Not
do
much
not
air
need
there.
that. Exactly.
So the next step, what
So the
What are
next
we
step will
expecting?
be the shutdown of 2 fixed engines. Because you know that for the 4 engines on the second stage, 2 of the engines are fixed and the other can have rotations to change its directions. So we will first shut down the 2 fixed engines and then with a very precise adjustment, we shut down the other 2 engines.
So we are about 300 seconds, a little over
Okay,
5
minutes
minutes
passed.
into the flight.
Yeah.
Can we say the most dangerous part of the flight is over?
Quite right. The most dangerous part happens during the separation of different stages. So especially in the atmosphere, because there are very strong aerodynamic forces, it will be a little bit dangerous.
And we can hear status from different teams. This is a huge group effort, obviously, right?
Quite
How
right.
many teams are working on it? Roughly how many people would work for a project like this to make it happen?
Let's count about that. Yes, the launch site system, the launch vehicle system, the Tianzhou spacecraft system, the TT&C system, and also the astronaut system. The astronaut system prepare for the cargoes inside, and also you know that's the Tiangong or the space station system also must attend this job. So at least there are 6 or 7 systems attend this mission.
Wow. And do we know how many people, roughly? Hundreds?
I don't know because each mission is different. Maybe also, you know, during every of our flight mission, there are also backup crew members. For a certain function, we not only have the certain person, but we also have some backup people.
And we're still looking at the image of the first,
video mounted
the
on the
first
second
stage?
stage.
The
On the
second
second stage.
stage.
So only the second stage remained. And you can see that 2 nozzles of the attitude control engines of the Tianzhou spacecraft.
And as the Tianzhou-7 is heading to the space station, is the Tianzhou-6 cargo craft still docked with the station?
It's already separated. It's already detached from the Tiangong space station, and it will deorbiting soon, maybe in the coming months.
Is it true that the Tianzhou-6 could also be used to carry some waste away from the station?
Already so much waste inside. It is a rubbish bin for our Shenzhou crew.
So it'll be the same for Tianzhou-7 when it completes its mission.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the mission.
Not only for Shenzhou-17, but also for Shenzhou-18 crew. So they will put their rubbish inside. So you can see that on the right is the 2 of the 4 engines of the second stage is still working. maybe after several seconds, you can see that one of them will shut down because that's the fixed engine.
Okay. Of course, there are numerous cameras on this vehicle, and they have light on it to eliminate the rocket.
That's a good measure to monitor the status of the launch vehicle.
Yeah, so that you
very,
can,
very useful and helpful. Because today, thanks to the development of electronics, we can have this high-definition video, and with only a very small camera, we can achieve that.
So the
文昌雷达更正常，遥测向正常，文昌飞行正常。西沙313更正常。
We're almost heading to 500 seconds into the flight. The next major move is the second stage shutdown and the separation of the spacecraft.
Yeah.
西沙424更正常。
What will be the most difficult part for the next stage of the flight?
So after separation of the spacecraft, there will be the extension of the solar panels. Because it is a movable mechanism, so it is very complex, and that is a critical step.
Do we know what kind of science payloads it's carrying with it?
Well, we just need to wait for the formal announcement from the China Manned Space Agency. And as your colleagues are already introduced, Mr. Zheng Yibing has already mentioned about maybe some bombs will be studied inside our Tiangong Space Station. Very, very meaningful study. Not only, as mentioned by the scientists, not only prepared for astronauts, but also for old peoples on the ground.
Yeah. And for the Shenzhou-7 crew, finding an item during, while the Shenzhou-7 is docked with Tiangong Station will be quite a challenge if things are not well managed, right? I understand they have used a color-coded system. Different packages have different colors.
Okay, the fixed engines, as I mentioned, one of the fixed engines, you can see that already shut down. So the vernier engine can work longer to adjust the trajectory very precisely and then shut down.
Okay.
So it's close to the end of the flight. Great.
An engine shut down.
Separated.
Oh, there you have it, the spacecraft separation. A warm round of applause there.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's the launch team.
Yeah. We just wait for the big red screen.
Yeah. Well, for the launch team, it's a successful launch so far, but for the team in Beijing, who's in charge of the whole mission, especially for the spacecraft flight, it's only beginning.
The control will change from the launch site to the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. And at this moment, after unfolding of the solar panels, we will measure and verify the orbital parameters very carefully and very precisely. And only when the orbital parameters we measured is precise enough and within the margin of what we allow the tolerance, we can announce that it is a successful launch.
And Professor, looking at this is the animation of the Tianzhou-7 spacecraft, right? Talk to us about the spacecraft. What major components does it have?
Well, you may notice that there are two parts of this spacecraft. On the front is a cargo bay. The cargo bay can contain about 6.7 tons of pressurized payload. Great, we can hear the voice of the ground team that sends the orbital parameters. And inside that is the pressurized cargoes. And on the rear part, you can see what we call the resource module. And it has two unfoldable solar panels, also have multiple rocket engines. So there are 4 fuel tanks inside, and it provides the electric power and also propulsion. So it is a 2-module design.
2 module, and the solar panels are attached to the service module.
Yes,
on
or
my
the resource module.
left-hand side.
Yeah.
The next major step, we are waiting for the solar panel deployment. Am I right?
Yes. The unfolding of the solar panels will be a very important step, which means that we can have continuous power supply to the spacecraft. This is, as you mentioned, it is a 3D animation, but it is based on the real telemetry data, which means that it can represent the real circumstance of the spacecraft, the position, the attitude, and also other status. Great, unfolded.
All right, a successful solar panel deployment.
Yep.
We're roughly 13 minutes into the flight.
Because you know that at this moment, the Tianzhou-7 is still in the shadow of the Earth, so we cannot see any video from, although we can get the video.
Another round of applause there. Some relief now for the ground team. A very smooth launch. Now, I guess the ground team would do some calculation. The spacecraft will have some adjustment burns to better position itself for to dock with Tiangong.
Yeah. Only when we confirm that the orbital parameters is accurate enough, only under these circumstances, we have the chance to rendezvous and dock with Tiangong Space Station. So that's very important. We just mastered this technology more than 10 years before, in 2011.
And for the cargoes they're carrying for them, I'm also learning they have used a QR code system.
We've already used this maybe 2 or 3 years before. During the Tianzhou-7 mission, it can help the astronauts to sort and classify every package.
Very interesting. And
more
also
easily.
Talk to us about
and you can use their mobile phone to scan the QR code.
Easier for people to find things.
And they can know at once what is inside.
So this spacecraft is expected to dock with Tiangong in about 3 hours.
Within 3 hours.
About that process. Why is it a more efficient way?
So this is a new feature of this Tianzhou-7 mission, because you know that we made a world record in Tianzhou-5 mission 1 year before, 1 or 2 years before, which achieved a 2-hour rendezvous and docking, the fastest in the world. But you know that the faster you are, the more strict the requirement to the whole system. So in a 2-hour rendezvous and docking, maybe everybody is nervous because they do not allow any mistake in every step. Although it is very fast, but it is too strict. So the 3-hour rendezvous docking this time adopted is a balance between the 2-hour docking and the 6.5-hour docking. So it's already much faster than the 6.5 hour, but still made less pressure to our ground team. So I believe this is a reason for all of us. And 3 hours, you know that for this it is possible to bring some very, very fresh samples for biological study to the space station, and even animals, I believe.
And how long is the Tianzhou-7 supposed to stay in space, do we know?
As announced by the China Manned Space Agency, you know that the Tianzhou-7 brings more than 2.4 tons of cargoes for the daily life of our not only Shenzhou-17 crew, but also Shenzhou-18 crew. So it will stay in the station, attached to the station, I believe, in most of this year until the just before the launch of the Tianzhou-8 spacecraft.
And when will the astronauts be allowed to open the door of the Tianzhou-7 cargo spacecraft?
Just before what you asked, you know that the Shenzhou-17 crew plays a very important role to ensure the success of this mission. You know that we choose an automatic docking system, but if anything wrong happened to the automatic docking system, the Shenzhou-17 crew can switch the mode from the automatic one to a manual docking mode, and they can pilot the Tianzhou-7 to dock with the space station. So the residents of the Shenzhou-17 crew can ensure the success of this mission. After the docking, we must have very important checking of the inner environment of the Tianzhou-7, mainly the atmosphere inside. We do not allow any hazardous gas inside. So only after this, and also the proportion of oxygen inside is fit for the living of the astronauts, and also the temperature is good. Only under these circumstances we can open the hatch.
So we can see there's not much movement there. Tell us what is happening there inside the spacecraft or for the ground team.
Just at this moment, the Tianzhou-7 is orbiting the Earth at the Pacific Ocean. So we have the connection with the Tianlian data relay satellite. So the parameters, not only the orbital parameters, but other status of all kinds of subsystems can transfer from the Tianlian data relay satellite to the ground station. So at this moment, we can monitor and also verify not only the orbital parameters, but other things. So only we verified that as mentioned, the orbital parameters is precise enough. So only at this moment, we can announce that it is a successful launch.
Talk to us about what could be the next major missions for the China space program. The next big thing.
I believe that for the China's manned space program, the next one will be the launch of the Tianzhou-7 spacecraft, maybe in the first half of this year. Moreover, you see that according to the announcements of China National Space Agency, we will launch the Chang'e-6 sample return mission in the first half of this year. Just before that, we will launch the Magpie Bridge 2 or the Queqiao-2 data relay satellite to provide the communication services for our Chang'e-6 sample return spacecraft.
A number of major launches, and you mentioned we've got more manned missions coming up in 2024. Not only the Tianzhou-18, we're also expecting Tianzhou-19, right, at the end of the year.
And also the Tianzhou-8.
Tianzhou-8.
Yeah.
So 2 cargo ships missions, 2 manned missions in 2024.
Yeah, for our Tianzhou, for our China manned space program. Maybe before the end of this year or the next year, it is possible. It depends on the formal announcement of China Manned Space Agency. We will wait for the launch of another module of our Tiangong Space Station, the Xuntian module, which can cause the Chinese version of Hubble Space Telescope, very huge space telescope.
So currently, tell us about the status of the Tiangong Space Station, how many modules it has?
Just before this launch, we have 3 modules, the Tianhe 1 core modules, the Wentian and Mengtian modules, which form a T-shaped configuration. And also, we have the Shenzhou-17 spacecraft attached to the front node, the front docking port. Because you know that this moment only one spacecraft is attached to the Tiangong Space Station, and maybe after 3 hours we will have the coming of our Tianzhou-7. So at that moment there will be 5 spacecraft attached together.
We are 1100 seconds. That's about 20 minutes.
Yep.
Into the flight. If you're just joining us, you're watching our special coverage of the launch of Tianzhou-7 mission into the space. You're watching the Tianzhou-7 spacecraft flying in space now, heading toward the Tiangong Space Station. We're standing by for a major announcement of the results of this mission.
You know, because you know that the launch happened at 10:30 p.m. So just after launch, you know that this is about 20 minutes after launch. So still, you know that the spacecraft is orbiting the Earth in the shadow. So even although you know that, great. Although we have cameras mounted on the spacecraft and also we can get the video, but maybe we cannot see anything because it's too dark.
And the time for the ground team to decide whether this is a successful mission really varies, right?
They are very, very careful, so to verify everything.
So it could take, you know, minutes to 20 minutes.
It depends. You know, as we've already seen, it just has already 20 minutes past the liftoff. So we're just waiting for the ground team to verify, especially those from the Beijing Flight Control Center. They can get all the data collected, not only collected from the ground stations. Just when we took witness of the launch itself, we heard the voices of each tracking station. So the data collected from the tracking station were also delivered not only to the launch site system, but also delivered to the Beijing Flight Control Center. And also we can get the data from the Tianlian data relay satellite.
Let's listen in.
Yep.
The result of the launch. dear leaders, experts, and colleagues, according to the flight data of Long March 7 18 carrier rocket, as well as the monitoring and calculation of Beijing Flight Control Center, the Tianzhou-7 cargo ship has entered its targeted orbit, solar panels are deployed, and the cargo ship is flying in good shape. Now I declare that this is a successful launch. Thank you very much.
北京，文昌报告，发射结果宣布完毕。
There you have it. China's Manned Space Engineering Office has just announced the success of the Tianzhou-7 cargo spacecraft. The launch of it is a success. That's the confirmation. Let's now turn to our reporter Sun Ye. She is live for us in the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. Sun Ye, thank you for joining us this hour. So what has the control center said regarding the Tianzhou-7? We have just heard it. It's a successful launch. Tell us, what's the mood there?
Hey there, Qiuyuan. We heard it too from Wenchang Launch Center. There must be a celebration going on, but here at the Beijing Control Center, they're still working attentively because they have already entered the next step. That's where Tianzhou-7 is going to meet with China's space station. Now, this is the first time that the Tianzhou-7 cargo ship is employing a fast rendezvous and docking strategy that's going to be 3 hours long, the 3-hour strategy. And for this process, not the Shenzhou-17 crew, they are not only watching, they could be taking part in these 3-hour rendezvous and docking process if they're asked to, if they're needed. Now, experts here at the Beijing Control Center have been telling us that the 3-hour procedure is made as a perfect need for this mission. They say this 3-hour mission, the 3-hour rendezvous process is a perfect balance of the need in time because they are delivering time-sensitive items, but also this is less stress on all systems. We know Tianzhou is capable of moving faster. In 2021, Tianzhou-5 actually arrived and docked with the China space station just a little over 2 hours after its launch. But in Tianzhou-6, that process was a 6.5-hour one, and experts here tell us they choose that time strategy basing on the needs of each mission, and this one, the 3-hour one, is perfect for what Tianzhou-7 is bringing to the Tiangong space station. And here we will be here in the next 3 hours and also watching the Shenzhou-17 as they are going to watch and perhaps participate in this delivery trip. Qiuyuan.
Yeah, we'll be watching that docking and rendezvous process in approximately 3 hours. Thank you very much. Seeing you live for us in Beijing. Now, the Tianzhou-7 cargo spacecraft is about to give new supplies to China Space Station, and the mission has new features. CGTN's Zheng Yibing has the details.
The 7th Tianzhou cargo ship will for the first time adopt the 3-hour fast rendezvous and docking with China Space Station. A researcher from the cargo ship system explains the change.
The design is based on the previous rendezvous and docking missions, which lasted for 6.5 hours, or 2 hours with the space station. It is a comprehensive optimization. It is more ideal for orbit injection accuracy of the rocket, direction adjustment of the station, and energy saving of the whole mission. The design has passed the verification and simulation. It is safe and reliable.
Tianzhou-7 will give supplies to the space station, including necessities for taikonauts or astronauts, as well as experimental devices.
The cargo ship carries life necessities of more than 2,400 kilograms, including fruits. It will meet the needs of both Shenzhou-17 and Shenzhou-18 crews. And it carries some large science experimental devices, including some weighing more than 100 kilograms. Tianzhou-7 has a very big flexibility in accommodating these cargoes in various sizes.
After the rendezvous and docking with China Space Station, Tianzhou-7 will also play other roles according to the plans, like helping the station to adjust its position and orbit. 郑义斌 CGTN Wenchang in Hainan Province.
We've just had a successful launch of the Tianzhou-7 spacecraft. How do you feel about the launch?
Well, I believe that within 3 or 4 hours, maybe our Tianzhou-7 crew, Mr. Tang Hongbo, Mr. Tang Shengjie, and Jiang Xinlin will enjoy their fruit.
The fruit they want, the fruit they love.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. And what about future cooperation with International Space Station or other countries? Will we see even foreign astronauts coming on board of China's space station? Is that a possibility?
Yes, according to the announcement of the officials from the China Manned Space Agency, we are just in the procedure to conduct the training, not only the astronauts from Hong Kong and Macau, but also prepare for the training of the foreign astronauts. So sooner or later, maybe you'll see the appearance of the foreign astronauts to go to China's Tianzhou Space Station via the Shenzhou spacecraft.
Looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Professor Yang Yuguo. Always good to have you on.
Thank you.
And that's it for this special coverage for the launch of Tianzhou-7. We want to leave you with some highlights of the launch. I'm Li Qiuyuan in Beijing. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.
1点火，点火。机器分离。 关机，超声引导，文昌光学雷达控制场2级摆动发动机关机，船舰分离。
现在我宣布，此次发射取得圆满成功，谢谢大家。